Hi, everybody. This is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are January Sun and Rising sign horoscopes. And this one is for the sign of Virgo. So you can check this out if you're a Virgo rising or a Virgo sun sign. Got your chart up on the screen now, so let's go ahead and take a look. I've condensed the reports this month, and I'm not going into as much detail as I usually do just because I want to get these out on time. Typically, very beginning of January is a very busy time for me because I'm just finishing up my annual Kickstarter, and then of course holidays and all of that. So my apologies, they're coming out a little bit late. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. Beginning of the month, Sun conjoins Saturn and Capricorn in your fifth house. You got a solar eclipse on the 5th of January, also in your fifth house. Then Sun's going to conjoin with Pluto around the 10th and 11th. You're going to have Mercury is going to enter Capricorn and square Mars and Aries around the 8th, 12th to the 13th. Mercury will then conjoin with Saturn. So you get the feeling for this already, a lot of Capricornian emphasis. Mars will square Saturn by the 21st of the month. So 8th house, 5th house dynamic going on, back and forth, back and forth. So this is where the major action is this month. Let's start there. So 5th house was traditionally called the joy of Venus. It is a place that was also called good fortune. It's a place that's associated with joy, happiness, fun, recreation, sport, theater, dance, going out to restaurants, sex, but it's related to procreation and children and pregnancy. So it has that kind of mood about it. It's associated with all the Venusian pleasures. Now, when you are looking at a stack of Capricorn planets in that house, things maybe shift a little bit. And maybe the question is, what does a healthy version of fun look like? What does healthy pleasure look like in my life? Do I have enough fun or sort of non-goal-oriented activities in my life? This can be a problem sometimes for earth signs in general, which tend to be very work-oriented, especially Capricorn and Virgo. Tend to be can get a little bit more repressed. Let's put it that way. So I don't mean to make too much of a generalization there, but it can be an issue sometimes. So the 5th house energy is about finding a healthy, mature version of creativity, fun, joy, and happiness. It also has to do with lessons around those topics. Like if you tend to go to extremes in any way, this could be about growing up or maturing in terms of like, okay, you tend to go over the top, or you tend to spend too much, or you tend to be a little frivolous, or you gamble, or you whatever. If you have children, sometimes there's lessons that your kids are learning or that is difficult, you're supporting them through, or you're growing up as a parent in relation to your kids. And those things are possible as well. Creative projects and endeavors, you're working really hard on something's crystallizing or forming, like a creative project of some kind. It can also be about exploring beauty in depth and darkness with all the Saturn-Pluto themes kind of coalescing in the 5th house. Now remember, the eclipse is coming through in this 5th house for the next year, with Saturn set to conjoin Pluto in a year in your 5th house. So a lot of big stuff moving through this 5th house of your birth chart here. Now, with Mars in Aries, Uranus turning direct in Aries in the 8th house, that's a house of transformation, sometimes associated with death, with fear about the future, with having to let go of things, a natural expiration date of things. So there may also be a theme of letting go this month, of having to let go of things. Sometimes there are issues around debt and your children, debt and or money issues related to a spouse or within your marriage. The 8th house is a house that's related to other people's money. Also, the 8th house has to do with penalties. So if there can be penalties, in other words, for frivolous behavior, if the 5th house is giving you signs right now of like, I'm trying to have fun, but I'm doing it in a not so healthy way. 8th house Mars square can be about sort of having to reap what's been sown and face the consequences of immature actions in life, or having to face something of an unknown future, and that could be kind of a buzzkill or a joy kill, or how do you find fun and joy in life while dealing with anxiety? That can also be a 5th house, 8th house kind of dynamic. So those are the topics you're looking at as the most prominent or most important this month. There's a few other areas, however, that are also vying for the attention, right? And so you have Jupiter around the 13th of the month in your fourth house of home, family, ancestry, property, land, squaring Neptune in the seventh house of relationships. This can mean that, first of all, Jupiter and Neptune are just very expansive and inspiring, and give you a vision and a sense of a dream, something bigger than what you're currently doing, sort of inspiration. It's associated with expansiveness, generally speaking. Well, Jupiter and the square to Neptune in the seventh, from the fourth to the seventh, can be about the way in which your life is expanding, both through the elements of home and your family, as well as relationships at the same time. Are you thinking about moving? Are you thinking about moving in with someone? What's changing in your life, both at home and in relationships simultaneously, in a way that's expansive, inspiring, and uplifting? Or how do faith and beliefs, how are they playing out in your relationship? Are you on the same, or do you and a spouse or partner, or do you and your close friends share enough in common spiritually, or do you have a similar kind of emotional drive in life? It's very important to be figuring out some of those things this month, maybe. All right, so we're looking at that around the 13th. Remember, this transit can be a little grandiose, can also sort of not totally, it can struggle to stay, you can struggle to stay grounded, basically. So the Capricorn energy helps this month with that. This is a weird amount of contractiveness and sort of newness, with hard work involved, like sort of labor and working through hardships, like also sort of Mars-Saturn dynamic going on. And then there's this really expansive, super imaginative, sort of otherworldly Jupiter-Neptune dynamic between the fourth house of home and family and the seventh house of relationships. So it'd be interesting. I'd be very curious to hear your stories this month and hear more about how this plays out. I'd love if you leave your stories on the YouTube feed. Now, on the 21st, you're going to have a lunar eclipse in your 12th house in the sign of Leo. This is last lunar eclipse in your 12th house after like a year and a half of having them there. And that's a house where you've been really, eclipses there show us that you've been in between worlds. You've been exploring your shadows and exploring the darkness, a bit of a dark night of the soul kind of theme, health problems, loss, dealing with secrets. These things are now winding down as the eclipses in Leo are coming to a close. So that last 12th house eclipse on the 21st, you may see the effects of that playing out over the next couple of months, but things should start to wind down after that. But one more big one coming through your 12th house, a little bit more healing, a little bit more inner work and processing to do. But you're coming through a difficult period where there's been a lot of growth, and so stick with it because you're almost there. Last but not least, on the 21st of the month, you're going to see Venus and Jupiter get together in your fourth house. It's a really expansive, joyful, and kind of uplifting energy coming through the house of home, family, property, parents. So I like the general good vibe that's coming through that domestic sphere this year for you in general with Jupiter there. But to close out the month, you see a more lifted, bright, kind of beautiful quality at home. And then the only thing that comes with that is be careful of not spending too much or overdoing things. Again, you have a Venus-Neptune square about that time as well. So, all right, Virgo, that's what I've got for you this month. I'd love to hear your stories. I hope you're having a beautiful start to 2019, and I look forward to talking to you again next month. Take care.